while we still wait for some people to join, I'm guessing people are politely late after the lunch break. I'll just explain a little bit about the webinar. So welcome again to our Integration of Refugees Through Sport webinar. This is the third one in the whole series of 5, or maybe actually we will go for more. And before we start, just a few things. So we are recording the meeting from now on, and we will use the recording on our course, and then also share it with other participants that weren't able to attend, and also obviously with you. So if you want to share it later with your colleagues, that would be great. It would be very nice if you could use your name and surname and maybe the name of the organization on the Zoom, so that we can know who you are and that people can connect. Please also mute yourself when not speaking, and you can use the chat to put any questions or any comments, anything for the speakers or for us. We'd also like to encourage active participation and active sharing during the webinar. So we will have Q&A later on and also breakout rooms. And it would be great if we all try to squeeze a bit more power and see how can we share and help each other. Yes, so I will start. So the agenda for today is, first a quick presentation from Jakob, and then we will have Adnan presenting a bit his work, and and then we'll go into the breakout rooms. So let's just dive in. So maybe we start with Jakob. Giving us some information about the IRTS awards and mentoring. Jakob.
Thank you very much, Monica. Thank you for that. I'm here for a short commercial break before we get into the real deal, but it's very much related because I wanted to make sure that everybody on this webinar is aware of 2 opportunities in the field of integration of refugees through sport. The first one is our award scheme. So we focus exclusively on integration of refugees through sport in our award scheme this year. We have an open call out for applicants where there will be 4 categories, and each of these 4 categories there will be 3 shortlisted applicants and 1 winner in each category. The shortlisted applicants will all get a trip to Brussels for the ISCA Move Congress and the award show in that context, and the winners will also get a prize of 3,000 euros and another trip for our special session next year. And the 4 categories are integration of refugees through sport role model. We have integration of refugees through sport cross-sector partnership. We have a category called integration of refugees through sport innovation during COVID-19. And last but not least, the integration of women and girl refugees through sport. Now, all of this information is something you can find on our website for the awards. It's called awards.isca.org. And you'll find also here the important information that we have the deadline now, 30th of June. So you still have a week to apply, and I strongly encourage you all to do so. And even though this is being recorded and maybe shared, I can give you a little bit of a secret, namely that in some of these categories, we don't have so many applications so far. So if you want to see a good chance of success and be part of a positive message of sharing the good examples and good work that you're all doing, please do apply to the ISCA Awards by Wednesday next week. The second thing I want to let you know about is our mentoring program, also an integration of refugees through sport. Here we have a chance to do the second round of mentoring where 12 mentees have a chance to meet and learn from very experienced people, mentors, in the field of integration of refugees through sport in a 12-month period, including both physical meetings and online exchange opportunities. And we have a deadline for that to apply to become a mentee in our mentoring program in August. So you still have time to check out the mentoring program. You can find that on the irts.isca.org website. And I would encourage you all to both consider this for yourself, but also to consider if there's people in your networks that would like to be part of such an international learning journey. So this is the short commercial break from my side. Please consider these options we'll put in if they haven't happened already. It seems that it has. The information also in the chat box, and you're more than welcome to ask us also during the webinar today and afterwards if you need more information about these two exciting opportunities. We're happy to share more, and I look forward to being with you at the webinar today as well. Thank you very much, and back over to you, Monica.
Thank you, Jakob, for a lovely commercial break. I would say we need more of those. Huh? Yes, yes. Okay. Yes, we'll go to Adnan now. So I'm actually super happy that we can have you on board, Adnan. We've been talking in the last month so much, and this passion and this energy that you have, I think it's quite unique, and I hope everyone today will also feel that. So today we have Adnan Abdul Ghani. So he's a refugee from Syria, and he's also initiator of the support group network, which is the first refugee-led organization in Sweden. He's doing a lot of like these expertise stuff. So he's a migration thematic expert in Save the Children, where they also developed REACT model for refugees empowerment, self-organization, and strategic cooperation. Also thematic advisor for Region Västra Götaland, which would be the greater Gothenburg somewhere, I guess. So it's for development of the regional strategy 2020 to 2030. But he is also close to the European Commissioner for Migration and consulting her as well, which is a good way for us as well to give the message to the Commission. So Adnan, I'll just give you the floor, and yes, if any questions pop out, please do put them in the chat, and we will address them at the end. Adnan?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Monica, for the introduction. And I'm very happy actually to be with you. I worked in the last 2 years with the ISCA team, and it was, I mean, quite pleasant and wonderful journey. A lot of networks, connections, and techniques and tools that I think I owe it to the collaborations that we built through the IRTS and the integration of refugees through sports, as well as like on a personal level. I expressed that it was in one part, especially last year. I have been not in a good place, but I think working with all those wonderful people around Europe was really good support. So my name is Adnan Abdul Ghani, and I came in the beginning of 2015 as a refugee from Syria to Sweden, and I was placed in one of the biggest, I think, the biggest asylum camp in Sweden, called Resta Gurd, which had at that time 1,500 people living in an isolated area in one place, like small city. And the thing, my background, I am an IT engineer. I'm specialized in research and development originally. I worked in so many places around the world, in South Korea and China, and also in the GCC and Syria. What struck me when I arrived there, that the approach was used by organizations, by individuals, and by authorities towards refugees, because it was not what I expected. Under the understanding that I had no choice but to become a refugee. At that time, I had all the experience, all working experience around the world, but in the end, I end up without like a person without a passport, not being able to register my own kid, you know, and when he was born, and with having to have a new place to start my life, and with the whole experience that I carry with me when I came to meet those wonderful, I could say, I must insist, those wonderful volunteers, those wonderful employees in NGOs and in different sports clubs or any kind of forms, with a passionate wave, with a lot of people wanting to help refugees. But it didn't feel right, the approach. you know, all that passionate to help refugees, all that approach, it didn't feel right, you know, at that time, because it was more confirming the top-down, you know, approach. It doesn't care about what people have, but more care about the trauma and victim part of the person. It enhance and it you know, encourage pressing that victim button in a person where he become helpless and with you know, like, oh, help me, can you help me to book the bus tickets, can you do this to me, can you, you know, it paralyzes you actually. I met with wonderful refugees in that camp from all around the world, and we agreed on this is wrong, you know, like it's nice, but it's wrong. You know, we have more to give. You know, at that time we were 1,500 refugees living in a camp with 10 volunteers from Save the Children, from the Red Cross, trying to do, you know, 10, trying to do some kind of language cafe, you know, but 10 to 1,500. And I did calculation with the building, because it is like 14 building, and I wasn't living in one building. I make small calculation. Just I went to room and knocked the doors and asked people about their background, their what they have, what skills, what they like to do, what kind of background skills. And it was amazing, the list that came out of people, what their previous experiences, or the things that they would like to learn, or the things that they would like to do, you know. So me and other refugees came together and say, no, we can't do this. We have to work with two things. First, to remind ourselves that the whole hard journey that we had to arrive here, yes, it's safe, but we need to build better future for ourselves, and this will not be by sitting and waiting for others to help us. You know, we have to participate. If integration mean, you know, us being others, no, what we think is integration is a tango, is something we have to participate. We have to be part of that dance as well, you know, not only subject to that dance. Secondly, we have to talk to organizations. We have to talk to volunteers, those wonderful volunteers, nice people who are working with refugees, that please, you don't need to babysit the refugees. You know, you please do activities with them, not to them, you know, not for them only. You know, you have to open spaces for and arenas for refugees to participate, and provide the right tools for them to do that. Because in a lot of and a lot of the victimizing part, a lot of NGOs and parts or staff, they were saying, yeah, you know, people are victims of different things, they are traumatized, and it's very hard for them to do things, so we need to support, we need to do things. And we were telling them that yes, we are victims. We are victims of wars, dictatorships. We are victims of smugglers. We are victims of death boats and death roads. But you forget one thing, that we are here now. You know, we survive all of that. We are not victims, actually. We are more than survivors, you know. And we have a lot of power. Those people who had the power to walk all Europe, to ride the death boats, you know, they have a lot of power in them. And we need to see how we can harvest, how we can take care of this power, and provide them with the right tools and resources to become partners in the future, regardless if they're going to stay in our country or no. The question was at that time not if we want to stay in Sweden, or we stay in Europe, or we're gonna send back to when things get better, or our migration status rejected and we go back. The question is, we are here now. How you can look at me as a real partner in the future of the country, in the future of Europe, in the future of the world, you know? So we have to look, if I look at a person as a partner in our future, I have to treat him differently. I have to approach him differently. I have to provide different kind of tools and resources and information for that person to make him a real partner. Because we saw a lot of times that people say, okay, we want to include refugees, we want to include the target group, whatever, refugees, disabled people, vulnerable people in vulnerable situations, we want to include them. And we invite them to meetings, we invite them to places, without providing the tools and informations and resources for them to really participate, to be active participants, just the image that they are with you in the meeting. And you can see that they are passive participants. because they don't understand the context. They don't have the knowledge that you have. You sit really again the power structures where you own the knowledge, and you're out of your I'm sorry to say, out of your passionate and out of your good heart, asking those people or intellectual abilities, you're asking these people to participate. So here it brings us to the meaning of participation, actual participation. And here we will start to discuss that we have to redefine integration, because I don't like this word, but yeah, everyone, the politicians, commission, and in our country is using integration word. If we were going to use it, no problem, but we have to redefine it again. I'm more with the word with the inclusion, but if we're going to use integration, let's call it, the meaning of integration is participation, is the equal right for all parts to participate in this act, which is integration. That means if you want me to participate in an active act, I have to have almost the same level as you with information and resources and techniques to do the thing. So we start to talk to organize, we start to develop actually a lot of techniques. We start to empower refugees to use their own skills, old skills they brought with them, to create activities for themselves, for their peers, but also to the society, to the local society, and to create these activities. In terms of, if you don't use it, you lose it. So practice what you know. Try to build your capacity. Use the time, the waiting time for your migration cases. Use it usefully, because you're here and you have to do something about it. If you go back with the experience that you built for yourself in this. So we start to have self-advocacy, but in the same time, society advocacy around that. And our main let's say argument, saying that to create a successful integration project in sports, in culture, in whatever sector within migration, you have to include the target group in the start, in the planning phase. When we go to create an activity for refugees, we decide, okay, we want to do this because they need that. This is us thinking that this is what they need. This is us thinking that this is their challenge right now. This is us thinking this solution will work. But most of the time, I worked in 6 countries around Europe. I worked in 47 refugee camps and in 13 cities, with refugees, and 90% of the time, this approach doesn't work, because it's us who think. It always brings me that image from Saudi Arabia, a few years ago, when they had a conference about women's rights. And when you look at the room, there's 300, 400 men in the room and no women in the room. And they're discussing women's rights. We do the same. We do a lot of conferences, we do a lot of meetings, and we think what we know, what is the challenges, and we think the solutions will work, but without participation of the refugees. So if we want to create a successful integration activity, a project, or a campaign, or whatever, include the refugees in the planning phase. Include them in the implementation of these activities. Let them lead if possible, and in the end, include them in the evaluation of these activities or projects. Here, where you create a really successful integration, if you want to call it, project. In the same time, what means that I open and I include the people and I let them participate? That means again and again, you have to provide them with the right tools. First, you have to provide them with information about the context. To know where they're navigating, what is the background, what is the historical or local background for it. Secondly, you have to provide them with the right tools, techniques to do, and resources then to do that. I have few examples, and we worked in a lot of projects during the last 5 years around this concept, around the active participation of refugees. We had a lot of examples, and not only we advocate with a lot of organizations, with our partners, to do that. I can give a small example. I can start from small example from one of my colleagues. In one time, she was doing a yoga class she had money from a project to do activity, like physical activity with refugees women in one of the camps, and then she after like 2 or 3 sessions, she came to me and she said, I'm facing problem. You know, the first time I go, I thought that I asked the people and they say, oh, we would like to have yoga. I asked the women and they say, we have to like have a yoga session. And I went first time and they were like 20 women there. The second time they were 8. Third time I came, no one showed up. But we were having fun, you know, I don't know what's happening. And I'm calling people and people saying, oh, I'm tired, I cannot go out of my room. Oh, I forget. Or I try to call them to invite them. I say, like, have you tried? Because you have a lot of knowledge. You have a lot of experience in doing activities with people. Have you tried to train some of these women to make them actually the leaders of these activities instead of you doing that? So the time you're spending to do the activity, to do the yoga, you can spend it on teaching, you know, half or part of these women to become the leaders, or to know how to do that. Have you tried to create out of this just a normal activity as it is a yoga class, to invite, for example, native women or from the local society, where it's not only just an yoga class, but it's also a networking opportunity, you know, language learning opportunity. Try to create something. And when she started to do that, things change. You know, those 20 women, they become 30, 40 women, you know, coming because they see opportunities. They see we own it. And those women who were trained to do that, they were the ones who go knock on the doors in each room and for their friends and for their neighbors and say, yeah, come on, it's the yoga class time, you know, let's go. And this is what we have been doing in most of the the projects, providing the people with the right tools and something. I could say also, I could come to a recent project with that we did with ISCA team, which is Erasmus Plus project called Move Beyond. And in Move Beyond, it is about Move Beyond. It's a project about sports and non-sports organization working towards how we can work with refugees together as sports and non-sports. How we can more include refugees and also so it have a research phase where we see what kind of hinders and barriers that prevent refugees from participating with the sports associations, and also to look at a sports association where also there's barriers, and then to create a pilot where we try to more include and do activities with refugees and to include them in the sports clubs. In Sweden, we had the pilot, us, Save the Children, and RFC, so which is the sports association, the sports federation, let's say, in Sweden. And we had, so they are sports organization, we are non-sport organization, and we had actually experience personally. I had experience working with almost all the sports clubs in our area, in our region, because when we in 2015-16, a lot of sports clubs wanted to do something, you know, but they didn't know how. They didn't have the resources. They didn't have the time to organize. When we were together as self-organized refugees in a support group, saying that, you know, don't worry, you know, we have the people who could organize the activities. We have the people who could make sure everything goes in line, do the administration. We just need your resources, you know. So we had a lot of collaboration together. So we said, okay, we're gonna have different approach. You know, we have a certain amount. I think it was like a 10,000, around 1,000 euro to do the pilot. It's about 10,000 Swedish krona. And we said, sorry, no, it's 10,000. Yes, it's 10,000 euro to do the pilot. And we said, instead of us going to spend this 10,000 to create activities for refugees, then leave, you know. So we're gonna use this money, or we're gonna do our pilot differently. What we did is we went to refugee communities, you know, and migrant communities. We had 8 migrants, 8 refugees from different backgrounds. So some of them were unaccompanied children. Some of them were women, migrant women who are like part of strong woman network. Some of them, they were old migrant, and some of them, they were students, you know, who are just starting their life. So 8 refugee. What we did is Save the Children, with all the knowledge that we have, we created, and with the RFC, so with all the knowledge they have also in the sports arena, we created a training for those 8 persons. And the training where we called, and the training, and we give a title for those trainees. We call them ICPA, which is intercultural physical activity leaders. So the idea is that to create sports activity leaders who can create activities, sports activities or physical activities for refugees and for others. But in the same time, we wanted to provide them with the knowledge, with the intercultural knowledge that we thought that is missing from the sports clubs. From our research previously in the project, we found out that sports clubs missing a lot of intercultural interventions and communications and skills to work with the refugees. So we created together, out of our experience and their experience as sport and non-sport organizers, we create a series of training for those 8 participants. You know, for our surprise, when we created the training, we didn't create it from out of our only knowledge. We did the focus groups with a lot of refugees who are part of the group that they will be participating. And we asked them, what kind of tools, if you want to organize a sport activity, what do you think tools you are missing? If you want to communicate with your local community, what tools you are missing? And for our surprise, some of them, they say, yes, we need a risk analysis. We need, you know, to know how to handle budgets. We need to know how to do how to do timelines for activities, or if we want to create projects. And we did all of that. We created a training and communication, full training for them. Those 8 ICPAs, they bird and they went to create activities. They want to create activities, and they got part of the pilot. So they got each one of them around 10,000 krona. You know, they have the knowledge that they got from the training, and they went to the sports clubs and said, okay, I have training, I have money. Do you want to do activity with me? Not the other way around. You know, it's not we're going to the sport club and say, this is money, go to do activity with those poor, unfortunate refugees. So we're shifting power, we're distributing this power again, you know, and putting it. And, you know, it was supposed to have 4 activities, 10 activities created, you know, out of that program. 10 activities, they could create 10 activities where they pair up with a sports club on things on their own demand. So they went to their own peers, to their own colleagues, and they asked, okay, what kind of sport you would like to play? And they say, okay, and I am a refugee. I'm working every day with them. And I was surprised with their options. The women, they came, they say, we want horse riding. And I said, what? Horse riding? Yeah, it's okay. But you know why? And they say, you know, we never had the chance to ride horse in our countries. This is like something, I thought, you know, they're going to go for something else, you know, but no, they know what best they want. And they voted for, yes, we're going to go horse riding. And they created an activity, not only for them, they created activity for themselves, but also for the youth in the camps to do a horse riding activity, you know. And they went with the local sports club for horse riding, and they did wonderful activities. What we saw that those activities that we created, this knowledge, sports clubs came to us and start to talk about the need of more intercultural communication skills that to work, because they saw, okay, you know, those eight trained refugee, they not only brought themselves, they could mobilize a whole new community for us to come and participate and to become members in our clubs, you know. So they start to work with them. Move Beyond finished 2000 in December 2020, but its activity until now, it's working. As I told Monica day before yesterday, you know, I met with some of these ICPAs, and they are still running their activity until now with the sports clubs, although the project finished almost 6 months ago. Not only like that, one of those ICPAs now got employed as an activity leader, you know, and sport activity leaders to create activities for other youth in the whole summer, for 3 months now. So the effect of that, I think it's great. We can see the effect on them. And this is not only in that area, but for other people in other areas also who had the similar activity, who have the similar opportunity to participate, to actively participate and gain skills and knowledge about not only for it helped them in their current situation. A lot of them, they carry it back when they moved to out of these camps. For example, we have a research by University West here in Sweden called "We Are Here Now," and it follows those refugees who were actively participating, who were actively self-organizing themselves in camps. They could trace them back when they moved to other cities. They continue to become active, not only socially, they were active socially, in sports, and politically as well. So because they learned that this is the way how it is here, I have to actively participate. I have to claim my right, because I had better opportunity to know my right and to know what I can do, and to not only to get to know my skills, but also to gain new skills in my journey. So this is in general my recommendations, my thoughts are around as I say, we tried it. I was very grateful to try that with in Move Beyond, with the sports, in the sports, but we tried that in culture, we tried that in justice, we tried that, and this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to say for integration to work, it's not just we have to claim one part of migration to work. All these cross-sectional parts have to work together. There should be some cross-sectional collaboration between sports, culture, education, and justice, housing, to create really a holistic, successful integration policies. I could just share, I think it's a 2-minute fast video from Move Beyond, just to give you more picture behind the words I said, and then I think we can handle some questions.
Yes. So while you prepare, Adnan, if anyone has questions, please put them in the chat, or now we have a few minutes to think about it.
Thank you so much. I think we can also, there's like a longer version of this, about 8 minutes, where there's interviews with those ICPAs. They talk about what it means to them, and also interviews with the sports clubs they were involved, also interviews with the I think the staff that were involved, and how things change for them, working in this way as well. So we can share it, I think, with the material in the end of this webinar.
Yes, thank you very much, Adnan, for sharing the knowledge, experiences, and the passion. So, do we have any questions from the audience? I'm just gonna check in the chat, or if someone wants to ask. Now is the time. You can raise your hand or just unmute yourself. We have a few minutes for that.
Well, I wrote my question in the chat, but I can also ask here. My name is Christina. I'm from Girl Power Organization in Denmark. And we do mainly women's training at refugee centers with the refugee. And I was just wondering whether you did sort of gender mixed gender trainings, or sort of separate gender trainings, or both, and what's your experience with doing one or the other?
Yes, actually, this is a very good question, because we in every place we start self-organization and empowerment for refugees, we face with this. It's very important when we involve, especially women, to let them do it on their own terms at first. Let them have a lot of women, especially coming from different countries. Sometimes it's very hard for them to start directly in mixed atmospheres. What we do usually, that we give them the power to create something for themselves, to let them to decide to create something for themselves. What we see in most of refugee camps or cities that we work in, those women, especially, not only they after a while, when they see that they can achieve things, they can organize things for themselves, directly they start to organize things for their community, for their men, for the others. So I could say, give them the power, give them the opportunity to do these things for themselves at first, but then you're gonna see that directly it will shift whenever they realize that they have the power to do the things that they thought that we can't do it. And I will tell you also a small thing, that in all refugee camps, 47 refugee camps that I visit, and I did empowerment speech for refugees to encourage them to self-organize and to do things. The number one question always that I knew that someone raise his hand and ask, it's, are we allowed to do that? So this can bring you an understanding. Also, same for women, are we allowed to do that? People asking, are we allowed that? The migration authority will allow us, the owner of this camp will allow us. I came from a dictator, 40 years dictatorship, where you are not allowed to speak out your mind. How about to self-organize and do things? So we can't assume that they know that they can do that. Sometimes empowerment and just planting the seeds that you can, give them small winnings, to do these things, and you'll see the sky is the limit then for them.
Thank you very much for the question and answer. Do we have any more out there? I'll consider that as a no. Okay, so
all crystal clear,
yeah, all clear at the moment. Then when we start doing this, I could have asked that. Yeah, thank you very much, Adnan. So we'll go now into the breakout rooms. So in smaller groups to get to know each other a little bit and what we do, and then also share. Yes, just a second. I guess you see my presentation, or just a few questions. And share our challenges and the needs of the organization. So we will divide into 5 breakout rooms. Lina will help me do that. And as you can see, we will be all facilitators there. So Adnan, me, Sashka, Jakob, and Rodolphe will be in the breakout room for about 30 minutes. And the idea is that everyone has opportunity to speak and express themselves. So saying a little bit about yourself and the organization that you work for and the experiences that you have with the IRTS topic. And then we'll go into the challenges that you're facing as organization when you're trying to involve refugees and migrants as partners and not only as participants of the activities. And then also what are the necessary tools, information, support, whatever you need that you can actually involve refugees to participate as partners. Yes, so I think we're ready. So Lina, you can, you can slowly send us to the breakout room. After 30 minutes, we will come back and share the learnings and summary. See you on the other side. Hello and welcome back. I hope people didn't magically disappear.
Hello.
Hello. Lina, can you see if people are still in the breakout rooms, or because it could also be that they left the meeting and they maybe need to join again? No, okay, it's coming. Wow. Yes.
All coming back now.
Yes, awesome. Okay, welcome back. So at the end, we actually had only 3 groups instead of 5, which is okay. Nevertheless, I hope you had good discussions, good exchange of experiences, and yeah, I'm curious to hear about the challenges that you're facing, and also then the needs that you have. So we'll start with either Jakob or Sashka. I'll go with Sashka. Ladies first, right?
Thank you very much. Yeah, sure. Happy to do so. Thank you. I was in a team with Aitor from France, Aitor from Spain, Rodolphe from France, Wim from Belgium, Maria from Russia, and myself. And we have listed few challenges, actually 4, and also connected to the challenges, the tools, information, and support that we actually need. And the biggest challenge, the first, not the biggest, but the first that was mentioned is the language. Language is a barrier, not when doing sport activities, but it is a language is a barrier when we want to include refugees into the management, coordination, and arranging the activities. So we need to overcome that that language, and in some countries that was mentioned is done by the language courses that are organized, and also Adnan mentioned that before, and probably all of us recognize that sport is a solution, or football was mentioned, or other activities is a solution, but when we need to want to include refugees into the more, let's say, being a partner and organizing the activities, that we need to do that. Then the second challenge that was mentioned was loss on personal development of the refugees. The personal development means that someone who actually left the country on a specific education level, where actually after 5 years or 1 year or 5 years traveling through Europe, coming to a safe country and being in a safe position again, the personal development was really, it struggled on the way. And then we cannot just rely on the, let's say, university degree of the person that came into a new country, but actually work more on the personal development and understanding and understanding of the situation and what it was on the way and how they feel and how they are facing, what are the challenges they are facing in the new country. So the solution or support or the tools available needs to be more focused on the personal development than on the official education or university degree, more on coaching and peer learning and working in the smaller groups than being focused on the official education. Then the third challenge was a financial challenge, of course, and I think we all have that on the list. It was mentioned that it's super nice to have the EU funding as it is now. This network is funded by the European funding scheme or managed, but there is no structure funding on the local and national level, and there is no, or is a lack of systematic approach to the long-term, let's say, development of the IRTS integration of refugees through sport activities. So, and the solution and the tool or information we need is, or the support is raising the awareness on a national level on positive elements of sport in as such and integration as such. We need more tools for stronger advocacy and lobbying as well. And this kind of international cooperation and learning courses helps a lot. It was also mentioned that we need to monitor and evaluate what we are doing, not so much on the political level and writing the recommendations and those kind of documents, but more providing the good stories. It was also mentioned that what we need to is that identify what works well and also what doesn't work. Share the mistakes, share the learnings of the activities, so that we don't do the same mistakes that you maybe did 5 years ago. And I would like also, in this moment, I would like to ask, Rodolphe, to share the few links to materials and tools that you developed. Rodolphe is from Sport and Citizenship, and they developed the online learning course as well. And they have a what is the measurement tool as well that can help us as also in the development of our activities. The fourth challenge was lack of, and that's the last one, the lack of activities for women. And the solution actually that was mentioned, and we didn't go so much into details, was ask women what they would like and ask women also to provide the activities and then start from there. And then the general comment was that this kind of network, meeting every second month, online courses, online virtual networking helps really a lot so that we can share our challenges and also fears that we have and feelings that we have when we work together. That's in short, well, not so in short, and I hope that that I managed to cover everything. And if my team has something to add, please do add that, maybe even in just in a text box. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sashka, and thank you, Sashka team, for the inputs. Jakob, you want to share what your group was discussing?
Happy to do so. Thank you very much. We had a very global group with representatives from India, from Uganda, and in terms of European participation, also from Greece and Denmark, and a couple of more, which due to connection problems, were not able to contribute much, but was listening in. Now, super interesting discussion. I'll not add to what Sashka already mentioned, but I would like to mention that it was quite clear that sort of a key headline in terms of barriers is the commitment in terms of refugees and migrants themselves. No doubt that there are skills available or eagerness to learn, it was said. On the other hand, the commitment that is needed in terms of actually managing time, meeting the deadlines that you've committed to, delivering and continuing to show up is a difficult issue, because refugees and migrants are in so different situations. They may make huge life choices overnight and get on the move again, for instance, and therefore the consistency clearly is often lacking, and that is a huge barrier, to which we can add the language barriers, the financial barriers, and others that CEST have mentioned. So this sort of commitment piece is one that is also an important question when it comes to maintaining faith and belief that you can make a difference, but also the consistency over time in terms of these activities. So this is one key barrier that was mentioned. In terms of the support needed, I would like to touch upon the partnerships that has been mentioned. So language barriers, for instance, in Kampala, Uganda, have been addressed through getting and working together with social workers and a good broad cross-sector partnership, and trying to really overcome those barriers in terms of migrants, refugees moving again from different parts, whether they are in the urban area in Kampala or in the settlements outside. There is a certain need to work across sectors and get social workers and others on board to work to be able to address those barriers. I would like to finish off with an important quote in terms of these barriers and the opportunities that were also mentioned, that we have to understand at the end of the day that refugees and migrants are human beings like everybody else. They are in fact looking for a good life. And what does good life mean? It means a lot of different things. It means safety. It means the possibility to develop and flourish as a human. And sometimes that means that they would move on, make choices that we may not always understand, but that we have to respect, and that we can make a contribution to that somehow, but we need to appreciate that we can only be a part of that bigger puzzle, which I thought was quite insightful and important to remember, and that our contribution can be made to achieving that bigger goal. So I hope I do some justice to my good group. You're welcome to add more if you want to, using your voice or using the chat, but it was a very thought-provoking session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jakob. Okay, Adnan, let's hear what your group was discussing.
Yes, so we had I think wonderful group. We had Yanis from Germany, Rafaela from Italy, and Anne from France, and Christina from Denmark, and we had Paul from Philippines, who reminded us that working with refugee not only could be like refugee who are displaced internationally, but could be internal displacement. You know, with the typhoons or with hurricanes, and people who had to flee their own home for different reasons, and the work with them. And so we talked about different challenges, and one of the, I think, and we had the chance also to hear from the group around their experiences, wonderful experiences working with refugees, and sharing the same concerns, and sharing the same understanding of the importance of involving refugees as partners, not only as subjects of our activities and projects, but so the challenges in doing that was raised by the group. It was the nationally and locally the funding structures, how these funding are structures to work with refugees. It is structures upon the hierarchy that we have to provide activities and support for those poor unfortunate refugees, and the more poor they look, the more opportunities for us to get funding, So and this is actually a big challenge on how organizations, NGOs, rely on funding to do activities or to support themselves to do that. Also, and yeah, and then we can I can come back later on that. Also, the tendency in the society to stigmatize refugees like that. Also, the approach that we use to develop projects, and especially the sustainability question of the projects, because we create good projects that have a good idea and good concepts, but these projects finished and the sustainability question of that stay there, and also the need of working on a policy level, you know, in our nationally and locally, to change these structures, because the current structures established to work with refugees in all fields are built on the system where we are the caregiver and they are the caretaker. And this reminds me with a work that we did, the same concept that we did in Stuttgart in Germany, with creating support groups, self-organized groups. And after 1 year, the question with the social workers, with NGOs, with refugees, becoming who's empowering who, you know, actually. So where the city realized, and people who's working within integration realized that actually those refugees, they are the ones who are empowering social workers, empowering translators, empowering NGOs and different departments. And then we talk about also, like, you know, working on the motivation and the final aim of the projects always is a challenge. And also the, you know, and the question actually is related to the continuity of these established activities with unstable refugees. That is exactly what Jakob say, and actually some of the challenges that we listed, also somewhat what Asylum said, but also the, I mean, in there, I think we had a lot of challenges all the years, because one day that refugee is leading an activity, the next day he's off to France because he be rejected and he need to be in the run again because they're gonna deport him or something like that. The sustainability question is always a challenge, and most likely, as also my group mentioned, that sometimes those funding institutions, when you apply, and we had that experience when we apply on refugee participation or leading some projects, they raise the question of the continuity and the sustainability of these projects, because the refugee situation are not stable. They will not be able to handle, they will not be able to be professional, they will not be able to deliver. And we had to really work around that and to advocate a lot to change these structures. This is, I don't know, this is in general, and the discussions that we had in our group. We talked about right now also that there is opportunity on a European level with the European Commission, with the new action plan on integration that being introduced by the European Commission in November last year, to work in different level, and also the AMIF fundings opportunities from the European Commission. And if you see the themes of the AMIF fundings for this year and the next year, it will be around the participation of refugees on a policy level and on an activity level. So a lot of fundings are going to more include refugees in discussions and more include them on a policy level. So I think this is an opportunity for all organizations to team up, to work together on nationally, to use these funds to change structures nationally, you know. And we have seen the first, I think the first call was in April, but there's new call will come in August for the AMIF, where you had the opportunity to apply for funds to work nationally and locally on a policy making to change structures of the way how we work with refugees locally and nationally as well.
Awesome. We already have opportunities to do even better here. Awesome, Adnan. So do you want to close with something? We're kind of like done so with everything. So if you have any final words. I see we have some questions. We can't hear you, Adnan. I think you're muted.
Yes. I think we can. I just want to close with two comments, and it's wonderful opportunity that we had all these challenges listed, all the ideas from the three groups, and I think we will take it with us, and we will also discuss it further with the Commission on what we need to develop further in the next years to more help the integration of refugees through sports. Two things is, the importance of changing the narrative. Very important to work locally, nationally, and Europe and internationally to changing narrative around refugees. Rafaela from our group mentioned that, migration is part of the history. It's part of the process. It will not end. It's part of something natural happen. Alienating, refugees and migrants will lead to more bad things happening in our countries. Changing the narrative around migration is very important. The second one is the ownership. Whatever we're doing in any field, in culture, in education, in sports, the ownership of these activities, of these projects, have to go to the target group. We have to own it together. And with ownership, always have two things. We gain two things. Commitment and participation. A lot of organizations, suffer from working with refugees with the unstable situation that they showed up, then no one showed up after that, because there is no ownership there. But when they feel that they own the process, they own these processes, you always you get two things. You get participation and you get commitment to this, because they know what they can take out of it, and they know this is good for them right here, right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adnan. So Katerina raised a hand. So we're a bit over time already, but if people want to stay, feel free. So I think we'll probably stay a few more minutes because the discussion is quite good. So Katerina.
Very short comment. I don't want to delay all of you. Your favorite time of the webinar, Monica. I always don't keep my mouth shut. I never keep my mouth shut. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you all for this very interesting webinar. Some of us, we have attended all webinars, and I think this was the most crucial, the most important, interesting one. Great moderators, great comments from all the groups, and just this, and some very, very crucial comments that Adnan did about the ownership, about actual participation. We cannot speak about integration. We are struggling about participation. That's the truth. And we need to keep these terms, this reality in mind while we're redesigning and applying for funding or whatever. Thank you all, just this, because it was great. It was really great today. Thank you.
Thank you, Katerina. Any other comments? I guess no. Okay, so at this stage, I'll then say see you soon for a few months, not that few, only 2, 3. Anyways, so thank you all for participating and being part of it and contributing with your experiences and your challenges. It means a lot. We'll have a summer break now. I hope you will also have it. And we'll be back in September. So on Wednesday, 15th of September, we'll have again another webinar. And the topic will be include everyone. So we will try to cover different target groups within the refugee and migrant target groups. So women, children, seniors, LGBTQI. So probably not all of them in one webinar, but 2, 3, I hope so. Let's see. But if any of you has a good example from those target groups, feel free to contact me. Until then, I will wish you a very lovely summer break and take care of yourself, recharge, so we can continue making the world a better place. Thank you, everyone.